You remember when you were a kid and you were thinking that drugged people were people who were like taking hard drugs like heroin, cocaina, or cannabis. Especially when like people who grew up in the 70s or 80s, they all put like the bad image of drugs on all those substances. And like if you're the kids of the boomers or of the X generation, you grew up as like demonizing all those substances and try to avoid to be those drug people. But like what's funny is like drug is not only heroin or cocaine. For instance, nowadays the biggest drug that population face, especially in the US, is like junk food. Junk food activates your brain not as much as heroin or cocaine, but it's a very addictive way because the food are so tasty and it's cheap and available everywhere. In some places in the US, you can only find those food and not even like healthy food. And the problem is like when you grew up, people demonized all the heroin cocaine, but nobody really like put like warnings or like demonize the junk food and the bad food like McDonald's, Burger King. Not the media, nor the movies, nor your parents or the surrounding environments. And like when you grow up and you see this as normal or acceptable, it's not acceptable. It's like a drug. It shouldn't even be legal because it destroys your health in the long term. Obesity is like can kill people. So the problem is like a lot of people grew up with guilt feeling and like they didn't want to be like considered as drugged people, so they didn't take like heroin or cocaine. They didn't want to be considered as a junkie or a drug addict, so they really like put a bad image on heroin, cocaine, which is true. They are like very bad drugs that can kill your life. But the problem is not because you put some drugs in a bad position that the other one are good. And like I said, the problem is like nobody really demonized the bad food, the Coca-Cola, which is full of chemical substances that make you addict, all the junky food. And like it becomes quite a rule and normal in people's mind to say, okay, I'm gonna have a McDonald's one per week or in the weekend. Well, if you look like 100 years ago, those food didn't even exist. Those processed food full of chemical stuff that we don't know what you do to your health and that kills your brain. And in fact, you were like all drugged with those substances. So you need to change your mind and consider someone who is addicted to junk food as kind of a drug guy because the image in the brain is so strong. And if we put like a bad image and we say someone who is like addicted to it is drugged, I think the population will change its behavior because when you think drug, you think about junkie and people who take heroin, but obesity is as bad as those people because you can like have a heart attack, you're not well in under your skin. So you really need to change your mindset about it and really need to put like a bad image in your mind of this and see it like as a drug, as a life killer. But the real problem nowadays, the worst drug that has been created, is of course the drug of attention. Now we live in an economy of attention. When you look at like the past history, you can see that how it has transited like in nowadays like the biggest company that works are like the companies of like Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, because we are like in economy of attention. And when you look like we are all drugged to it, so that's why those companies make a lot of money on us thanks to ads like Facebook, because every time you open your phone, you like your brain receives like a dopamine shot, so you're happy, so you're addicted to it, so you want to do it again and do it again. That's why like a lot of people have like want to do like a dopamine detox because their brain just cannot release normal dopamine shot as we are all drugged to those screens. What you need to understand, like those companies like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram have hired the best neuroscientists that have studied the brain and its rewards path, and like they try to make the app the most addictive because they know the brain. So it's like psychiatric with like 12 years in uni, so they know the brain very well and they don't care about yourself, they just want to make you addicted. And that's why we have like big company which are valued like trillions of dollars, because in fact we are all drugged and addicted to them. Like before, the biggest company were maybe like cigarettes or alcohol, because we were all drugged to cigarettes and alcohol, like Philip Morris. But now the drug, which is weird, is like the attention drug, the one of social media. It's like the serotonin path. And what's funny is like we don't demonize them because it's like not like a physical thing, like a cigarette, or and you don't see like the physical consequences directly, like when someone who smokes, who take heroin, but mental health issue are so strong. And like, what's the point of having like a bad mental health if you have a good and you have a good physical health? Like, you need both. Like the Greek proverbs say, like a good spirit in a good body. And nowadays, like maybe some people have a good appearance from outside, but like they have like depression, they have like mental health issue, and it's because of this company. When you look at TikTok, they put like half the population under ADHD. And if those companies are free, it's because you are the product. They make money on your back, on your mental health, and nobody really cares about it. Nobody to protect you. Nobody tells you it's bad. It's like kind of normal in our society, while normally it should be demonized even worse than heroin or cocaine, because heroin and cocaine is true, it's very dangerous. It destroys your health and your mind, but this destroys your mind, mental health, and can like lead to many suicides. When you look at suicide amongst teenagers, it's really one of the worst things that humanity has created. But the worst thing in those platforms is like they're not regulated by the government or anyone to restrict its content. I'll give you an example. When you look at TikTok, from people who live in the Western world, which is like Europe and the US, you have access to all content which can be very bad. For instance, someone who is like fat, who is like obsessed with his body weight, will like, with the algorithm, will see like a lot of people talking about like fat and body weight on TikTok. So then he will go like in a loop of saying I'm fat, I'm fat, I'm fat, and TikTok will approve it with like algorithm and showing him videos of fat people. While TikTok, if you go to China, I know nobody knows this. TikTok in China only allows like in a good positive energy content and like engineering content to make like the population energy, like optimist about the future, good energy. While in Europe, like it has created like a lot of depressed people. So it's like kind of the destruction of population. So guys, it's not because you don't take heroin or cocaine that you're not drugged. Like nowadays, we could say that nearly everybody is drugged, between the junk food, between the social media, internet, and all this. Like, who is not drugged nowadays? And the problem is like before, people were accountable because it was badly seen to be addicted to a substance like heroin or cocaine. But nowadays, like normal to be addicted to those drugs, and nobody tells you it's bad. So you really need like to have like a recall of your life and count the hours you spend, and kind of try to restrict the content you have access to, because it can literally destroy your mental health. It's not free for no reason. It's just you are the product. They put in a lot of ads that you see and that maybe you don't want. For your kids, they put so much bad content. It creates like so many like distortion of the real world. And like the problem is like with young minds, their brain is not really wired yet, but their brain is so fragile, and like they grew up with this, and their brain maybe like lose the attention span, the focus span. I mean, for me, it's like the worst drug that has ever existed, because it's in your hand, in your pocket, on your phone. So you have access to it for free every time. Well, like someone who is addicted to cannabis or alcohol, he still needs to pay, go to see the drug dealer, have the substance. But this one is so, so, so dangerous. And that's why we've reached like a generation of people who is not able to focus like 2 hours in a row. Like go to a uni or high school and see all the kids are on their phones. They don't even know how to count 1 plus 2 because they have like an attention problem. They're so disconnected because of those application like Instagram and TikTok. TikTok is like the worst. Like when you look at the stats, half of the population is like under ADHD. I don't even know how the Generation Z will manage to work or like do focus things, because I think their brain is like damaged since they're kids, and so scary, so scary. But like I think a good way to start to realize it is to see it like as a drug and not see it like as a normal thing, the same way as people who used to smoke in the 70s didn't know that smoking was bad, so for them smoking was normal. It's only recently that those things were like demonized and condemned, and now the new generation saw cigarette as like bad, but people in the 60s didn't saw cigarette as bad. So now we need to do the same, because maybe in 30 years those apps will be like forbidden and will be seen as drug and mind killers, but you will be in the generation that has been killed by those apps. So try to escape this. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope that this video helps you disconnect from those apps that kills your attention. Also, do not forget about the junk food. Health is the most important important thing in life. Like we say, health is wealth. So try to take care of your health, of what you eat, and also don't give your money and your time to those apps. Thanks for listening.